MS Now, they have some very interesting news. One guest, and I'll play the video in a second so you can see for yourself who the guest was. They have invited somebody, and she told on camera that Donald Trump's administration is actually Jeffrey Epstein's administration. Take a listen at this video, but before I play the video, just to let you know, if you're not subscribed to my channel, consider subscribing. Like this video, share this video, have a listen.
We begin this hour with Republicans increasingly fed up with Attorney General Pam Bondi over the Epstein files. Here's what Republican Congressman Thomas Massie said just this morning.
Do you still have confidence in Pam Bondi as Attorney General?
I don't think Pam Bondi has confidence in Pam Bondi. No, I don't have confidence in her. She hasn't got any sort of accountability there at the DOJ.
Ouch. That comes after Bondi clashed with lawmakers this week over her handling of the Epstein files, including this startling moment between Bondi and our next guest, Vermont Congresswoman Becca Balint. Watch.
Do the right thing, Attorney General. Meet with the survivors. They have been asking for a year. Meet with the survivors. Do the right thing.
Didn't ask Merrick Garland anything about Epstein, not once. When he was,
weak sauce.
And also, I want the record to reflect that, with this anti-Semitic culture right now, she voted against a resolution condemning.
Oh,
is
Jewish. I just want to be clear. Do you want to go there, Attorney General? Or do you want to go there? Are you serious? Talking about anti-Semitism to a woman who lost her grandfather in the Holocaust.
Congresswoman Becca Balint.
Pam Bondi is unbelievable. Like, how can she bring anti-Semitism in all of this? Doesn't make any sense. Like, does she? I don't know, but she lost her mind for sure.
Joins us now. Congresswoman, thanks so much for joining us. I want to begin, actually, with the unredacted files that you and your colleagues got a chance to look at last week and the subsequent allegations of spying by DOJ officials that followed. What tipped you off to all of this? Was it apparent in the moment when you were looking at these files that something shady was happening?
Yeah, so the whole thing from the beginning seemed shady, from the fact that they were changing the rules on us about what we could bring in. First, we could bring in our notes, then we couldn't. Then we could bring in sticky notes, then we couldn't. Then we had minders. So there's 4 computers in there, in a small little room. You have a minder sitting right next to you watching everything you're doing. And then if you noticed, they had a discrete login for each of us. So that was concerning to me because I wanted to make sure that they weren't able to print out our searches. But it turns out that's exactly what they were doing. And we saw that in the hearing. They had a copy of Pramila Jayapal's, my colleague Pramila Jayapal's searches that she had done. And actually, before I left my office on the Hill to go to DOJ, one of my staffers who's been on the Hill for a long time, she said, I can't believe I'm going to say this to you, but I need you to assume you're being surveilled. And she was right. And it goes along with everything that this administration has shown us in terms of how they're conducting DHS. It goes along with what people in the field are saying in terms of what ICE officers are saying to them about American citizens being tracked. But certainly I never thought my own Department of Justice in the executive branch would be spying on the legislative branch. It's very chilling.
Congresswoman, I want to go
Well,
back.
it is chilling, but it is not new. Donald Trump, his administration, they're phone tapping a lot of these senators, congressmen and women, and they have complained about this in the previous hearing. So I'm not surprised, but to go to that level where they will be investigating what you are searching on your computer is something I have never heard ever.
Back to that last exchange that we just heard there in the clip that Catherine played between you and Attorney General Bondi. Your grandfather was murdered by Nazis. And then it seems somehow she's trying to tie your desire to know more about what happened to these victims, these survivors, to anti-Semitism. Can you just break down for us what the heck you think was going on there?
So 2 things were going on there. We knew, based on her behavior in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee, that she was going to come with a list of insults. And I suppose it's to my credit that she didn't have a whole lot of dirt on me that she could bring forward in her so-called burn book. But she went really low. And, certainly her staffers were looking up my votes, and they decided that I voted against one particular anti-Semitism resolution because I didn't agree with the wording of it. We've voted on dozens of them. And this was the thing that she pulled out. And when I came back, certainly it was outrageous in every possible way. And I kept my patience for as long as I could. The entire time she was there, she did not acknowledge the survivors. She did not show up prepared to answer our questions. And it was Darvo the entire time. So it was deflect, attack, and then reverse the victim and the oppressor. And to see her doing that in front of the victims of this horrible sex trafficking ring was just too much for me. And to see that what she was trying to accuse me of was anti-Semitism, of course, I lost it. But the other piece, I think, is based on what I was saying at the top. They were spying on us. So she knew, presumably, that I was looking at the records for Howard Lutnick. Howard Lutnick also happens to be of Jewish descent. Was this their way to try to discredit me and the line of questioning that I had? I don't know. But it certainly struck me as incredibly creepy and outrageous, frankly.
Well, Congresswoman,
I mean, of course, it is never about anti-Semitism. It is all about, do you agree with us? Do you stand with us? What is your position? What is your opinion? The moment we sense something is not in what we want, in our favor, you are going to be spied on.
I actually wanted to ask you about your line of questioning with regards to Commerce Secretary Lutnick, who was Jeffrey Epstein's neighbor and even had some business dealings with him. And he is the highest ranking member of the Trump administration to be just pretty mentioned quite frequently in the Epstein files. And Attorney General Bondi, she said that Lutnick had answered for it. And, you know, he's a good friend of Donald Trump. Unlike other officials in the UK or around the world, it seems as if there just aren't consequences in the United States. Is there any way, do you think, to pursue this further with regards to Lutnick?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think we have to. He appeared to have lied in earlier exchanges with Congress, saying that he had cut off all ties with Jeffrey Epstein back in 2005. Now we know that absolutely wasn't true. They had business dealings together. And then it turns out, actually, he went to Epstein's island. I would have thought the DOJ would be interested in asking him, what did you see while you were there? You had said, back in 2005 that you thought that what was going on at his apartment next door was not on the up and up, and it gave you the creeps. You said that to your wife, and then you decide to go to the island. And so you would think if the Department of Justice was doing what they said they were doing, which is, following these leads, they would want to have a sit down with him. And what she essentially said was, well, whatever he said the other day is good enough for me. And it is seeming to many of us now, as we go deeper into these files, it feels like this is the Epstein administration. There are so many people in here who had ties to this man, who wanted to continue their dealings with him even after he had been a sex offender, a registered sex offender, and they continued to have their interactions with him. And I think this is why we think there's a cover up, why we believe that the president is not actually interested in getting to the bottom of this, because it's all so intertwined. And so we have to keep asking these questions. And if this secretary, I almost called her secretary again. You see what's happening to me now. I'm so frustrated with her. If the attorney general will not ask these questions, we're going to keep track of all of the ways in which this administration has been lying to us. And when we get subpoena power, we're going to use them.
Congresswoman, since you did
guys, excuse me, Lutnick is so bad. I mean, this guy, his involvement with Jeffrey Epstein was the clearest. He was a pimp for Jeffrey Epstein, supplying his own kids to him. He visited Jeffrey Epstein's island after Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of being a pedo. But then he took his children with him to the island, knowing Jeffrey Epstein is a pedo. Unbelievable. This guy should fall, and the Trump administration should also be fall.